Welcome to the Resonate podcast with Aideen. I'm Aideen Riada, and my guest today is Lucille, based in the UK, but originally from Australia. Hi, Lauren. How are you today?
Hi, I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm so excited to have you on the show. We've had a conversation before, and it was so much fun. So
It
I'm really
really was.
excited to share you with my audience. Let me tell everyone a little about you before we start. Lauren is a singer, songwriter, and vocal coach. She grew up surrounded by jazz and classically trained musicians. Lauren loves and sings jazz, soul, pop, folk, and R&B. She's developed a holistic and intuitive vocal coaching method using tools from over 20 years of performing, teaching, traveling, and studying. She has recorded albums of jazz and pop originals and also has a Christmas album. Thank you for joining me, Lauren.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's really cool to be here.
Yeah. Tell me your journey a little bit. How did you start to discover the value of your own voice?
Well, it's an interesting question because I grew up in a family full of musicians. We were always playing music. I was singing with my siblings. And so I didn't have a problem with like singing. I could sing anywhere. Um, but I always thought there was something missing. So I just didn't think I really had much to bring to the table. And I thought my voice was really bland and very boring. And that it went on for quite a while, actually. And I started gigging when I was 18. And when I was about 28, I recorded my first full length album. I had a few like EPs before then. And I recorded my full length album. And listening back to that album and the EPs that I recorded, was very interesting because I was just so critical. I was like, this could be better. I don't put enough emotion in here, or I just sound really bland there. The album itself, Hidden Here, the one I recorded in 2012, it was so difficult to record because the music was quite hard. I'd written it all, but it was really hard to sing. And there was times I'd go into the studio and my producer would just be like, "What's wrong with you today?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't have any energy." He's like, "Just go home." Because I tried. We turned off the lights. And it was, I really pushed myself and I really recorded a beautiful album. I'm so proud of that now. But it took me a few years to listen and hear what everyone else was hearing. Like, Lauren, it's such a beautiful album. And I was like, I thought I was singing out of tune here. And then I realized it was just the kind of the organic feature of the strings and my voice playing together. And I really, it's been like, I think listening back to yourself is nice when you can, oh, I don't know where I'm going with that thought. The value of my voice.
Yeah, but you're right. When we hear ourselves back, that's a layer of like the acceptance of your voice. Like you can accept your own voice when you hear it in a room. You might like it sometimes, you might dislike it sometimes, but when you hear it recorded, it's like, okay, this is like the truth of my voice, which it may or may not be, because sometimes we record our voice onto, really shitty microphones and things like that. But it is an external view into your voice as well.
Absolutely. I People started telling me how much they loved my voice. And it was like, really? And they're like, it's just so this and that. And I remember doing a gig, it was out on an outside stage. And this woman came up to me at the end, the young woman, and you could tell she'd been crying. And I was
Wow.
like, "Are you okay?" And she said, "You just moved me so much. And that song you sang about blah, 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 it was just so, I just needed that so much right now." And I thought, oh, okay, I'm actually touching people here with what I do, because I just love singing and I love songwriting and I love putting all kinds of groups together and I just enjoy it. So it wasn't really about if I liked it or not. If when I was listening back, I just love being on stage singing for an audience. But to get that kind of feedback, it's like, okay, maybe I am on the right track after all. Excuse me. Just some allergies to some plants I bought today. Unfortunately, as a singer, it's not a good thing. But
Well, this is an interesting point that our voice is so different. Like our voice changes from day to day. So we might get the quality we're thinking of on a particular day, and then 2 days later, because we haven't had enough sleep or because we've had an argument with somebody, like it really affects our voice. There's so many things that affect your voice from moment to moment.
yeah, even like of course the atmosphere and the house you live in and the fumes you're breathing in or the emotions you experienced that day or the phone call you got or the lack of sleep or the lack of hydration or the eating badly or for a woman getting your period or going through menopause. There's so many factors, and um including, well, I just lost my train of thought. um the songs you sing and the repertoire you choose. And it's not just it's a bit out of my range and I have to push a bit here. But even if it seems like an easy song to sing, it might not be the right song for you. And I kind of learnt that the hard way. I sang for the elderly in mental health for quite a while, on and off.
Hmm.
And the last time I did it, I just quit in August last year because I just thought, just I don't enjoy singing half these songs, but I have to sing them because I'm getting paid to sing, and I enjoyed doing it for them, but my voice was like, this doesn't really work for you. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm just not very good. I went into that whole thing of I should be able to sing anything. And I was talking to this vocal coach actually today who trained like big stars in the UK for like 25 years. He said, and weren't even talking about it. He just said, you can't sing every song. Some songs just don't suit you. And it has nothing to do with the range. It's just the style, the mood. And it was just really nice to hear to somebody to say to me, it's okay that you can't sing that song. That was amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
completely. Because we think things should stay the same, but we're evolving and we're changing. And I remember being asked to sing this guy's songs. He said he needed a singer, and I listened to them, and they were quite sad. They were all from his perspective, and I couldn't relate to them. And I sometimes wonder if I should have done it anyway. But like what we're saying right now is if it's not drawing you in, if it's not feeling like you want to do it, then why would you do it? Unless like it's purely, okay, I'm just going to do this job and get it over with. But even when we're doing it for work, we want to enjoy our work. So I agree with that. Like it's almost like, but the interesting thing was you felt that your voice was telling you that you didn't want to sing it anymore. Was it something you could hear?
It was just difficult. And I was like, okay, I'm a
It was
vocal
like your
coach. You
voice
start
didn't want to do it
questioning
at all.
yourself. You start questioning yourself and you think, I'm a vocal coach. I should be able to do this. I should, and that's a very dangerous, dangerous word. And my voice was definitely telling me. It kind of went downhill. Um, I ended up losing my voice actually, which I'd never done in that sense, in this terrible way ever. I mean, I lost a month's worth of work. That's
Wow.
another story. I don't know if you want to hear about that at some point, but it might be inspiring to some people to see how I got through it because it's inspiring to me. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I'd
you've
love
got
to
to
hear
use
it.
your
I had an
intuition.
experience. Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
It's okay. I think the Wi-Fi went a bit funny for a second.
Yeah, I had an experience where I was working in recruitment and I didn't realize it was affecting my voice. I wasn't singing at the time, but I wanted to start studying music again. So I went to the Leinster School of Music in Dublin to a woman called Evelyn Dowling, and I literally could only sing like 5 notes. I wasn't able to sing any more than that. And I think it was because of the work I was doing and being on a headset and not being able to and I didn't like what I was doing as well. But well, what was your story? I'd be really interested because when that happens, you think, oh well, I can't sing, and a lot of people do feel that they're like, well, I can't because at this exact moment in time, I can't reach that note. But there's ways to move forward. I'd love to hear how you got through it yourself.
Yeah, well, it's different for everybody, of course. Um, but what happened? It happened twice actually in the last few years, and maybe I obviously there are so many factors. as I said before, emotions and things that are happening in your life and your atmosphere and everything. But the first time it happened, I sprained my ankle. This was 2 years ago. And obviously I was on crutches for like 6 weeks, and I could put weight on it, but I couldn't move it. So I was on crutches to help me move. And I went to my osteopath when it was almost done healing, and I said something about my voice. And he said, yeah, well, if you're limping, it's put your whole structure out of alignment. So the voice that you're used to using, it's not the same anymore because there's a slight shift. And it makes sense, if we shift our tongue in a certain position, our voice sounds different, or the soft palate, or something to do with our body. So knowing that my alignment was all out, my hips were out, it changed my voice. And actually I could still sing. It's just that I had a different voice. So I didn't lose my voice. I just had somebody else's voice. It was so incredible and bizarre, and a fascinating experience. But I thought to myself, okay, it was for a couple of weeks, and I thought, if this is going to keep happening, I'm going to have to change my repertoire. I'm going to have to change all the keys. I'm going to have to sing different things, because the stuff I was doing mostly at the time was singing jazz. Excuse me. And so it's like, I've never been in love before, and this is why. And I would do these like high little scat solos and whatever. And I have a low voice. I don't go very high all the time, but I had these capabilities of moving up there. And at this time, I kind of lost that, and there was a bit more like crunchiness in my voice. So I thought so I started moving all the keys down just for that period of time. And then my voice just came back completely fine. Okay. So I didn't lose any work. I could still do all my gigs and all of that. Last year, had a more of a tough year, like emotionally, just a few things, as life does. I was fine, but it was kind of affecting me at a level that I didn't realize. And I had like 4 signs of stress. And I thought, I don't even feel stressed. I know I'm a bit sad, but I don't feel stressed. And my body was like, you're stressed. So I had acid reflux, weight gain, 2 other things that I can't remember right now, voice loss, and one other thing, trouble sleeping. So, and I didn't kind of put it all together, and I didn't catch it in time. And I just started having these voice problems, and it was so bad that I basically lost a month of work. Probably within a month, I lost about half of my income.
That's hard.
And I was really hard. And I was calm through it. But obviously after about 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, okay, the things I usually do aren't working now. I can't actually use my voice like last time. Of course, I went to see the ENT. They said that, definite acid reflux, and there's no actual permanent damage to your vocal folds, but I had this little tiny red line just from coughing. And so, of course, as a voice user, and you've been using your voice for so long, you kind of know some of the things to do: rest, hydration, proper vocal warm-ups, SOVT, where you're blowing through the straw and things like that. But it just wasn't working no matter what I did. Because last year, 2 years ago, I was meditating, and I really felt like the meditation brought me to a really calm place and helped bring my voice back. This time, nothing was working. And then I don't know what shifted, maybe just the awareness of what was wrong with my voice after going to the doctor, just being told that you're actually fine. It's just acid reflux damage. Because I've had acid reflux since I was 18, so for a very long time now, on and off. Of course, I manage it as best as I can through diet, not through pills, because they're not good for you. I don't think they're good for you. And I kind of got my voice back, but same thing happened. It was like somebody else's voice. I couldn't sing the high notes anymore. I basically had no head voice or falsetto. And I had this real edge to my voice. And my gigs, instead of doing jazz gigs, I just started singing more soul. And of course you can put soul into jazz, but I mean like the feeling of the song, the groove of the song. I didn't want to swing anymore with this jazz. And I started feeling songs in a way that I have never felt music before.
From an
And
emotional level?
an emotional level. I've always been very technical. So I've just wanted to sound perfect and get it right and be this and get the notes, Whereas, for example, my sister, she's never been trained to sing, but I absolutely love hearing her sing because it's so raw, authentic. She just goes for it. She puts all of her emotion in and it works really well. There's a few recordings where she sings with my brother's band. But I was always very like, I have to be right, have to be right. And I just didn't find room for that emotion. And so, I'm 40 years old now. This is when I was 39 that I felt like could feel songs properly for the first time. And, I've taught it and I've come in and out of feeling things, but it was more like it was just harder to access that. And so having this voice where I had to really be on my game physically, technically, I had to really make sure I was breathing properly, had the voice in the right place. So I was thinking about the technique, but that was just so I could actually sing a note. But I had to pull it from an emotional place, which sounds really weird saying it out loud, but the only way that it was working was like, yes, Lauren, use all the technique you've learned over the last 20 years, but you can't do this without feeling. It's just not going to happen. And I just thought, if I'm
That's
doing a 3-hour gig, I can't feel every song because you're doing a 3-hour gig, you're singing 20, 25 songs. But these gigs I started having more compliments than I usually have, more deep compliments, more people kind of like, oh, there's something special happening here. Like, people do say that about my voice. That's why I started teaching, because people just wanted to sing like me a lot, 15 years ago. But there's just this extra deeper level that I went to, and every song I felt, and it was absolutely incredible.
Was it worth
Um,
losing your voice to find that?
it's a really good question. Yes, absolutely. I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend somebody go to town on the alcohol and the drugs and the smoking just to get this kind of huskiness or this different vibe, because you can really do some lasting damage. Mine was more psychological. Um,
But I think our bodies are try to communicate with us, and a lot of people have a health issue that makes them change how they think about life or redirects them in their career or makes them look after themselves. And for you to have a deeper connection with your own emotions while singing can't be a bad thing ever. And I'm just glad that, it was only a month or so that you weren't able to sing. So that's not too bad.
I was very lucky. I mean, that was tough, but I learned a lot about myself. I'm always looking into self development and being a better person,
Mhm.
really just a more peaceful and happy person, so that I feel good to be around me. And then that goes out into the world. So I just thought, well, I really learned about the silver lining during this form. It was 4 months,
The
four
journey.
months. And I just thought, I've got to find the silver lining. And it went over into other areas of my life, not just singing, of course, because it was so tough that I was like, I can't just be in this toughness. I have to, okay, the silver lining is the emotion is there. The silver lining is I'm finding ways to sing that I didn't have before.
The
Um,
other thing was that you had to surrender to the voice that you was coming through and accept who and what you were and how your voice was and just work with that. Because a lot of the time, for me even, it's like we feel we're the agent in our lives, like that we're creating what happens next. And it gives you a false sense of kind of power. In the end, there's many things in our lives we have no power over whatsoever.
yeah, you said the perfect word is surrender. And it's really difficult when you've been in control of something for so long, and just to give over to a completely new way of doing things. And I'll just say this while it's on my mind. You said before, like, was it worth it? And I said, yes, definitely. But I wouldn't go searching for that, because it's, as I said, it could have lasting effects physically. And, people are like, how do you, the recovery is different for everyone, I think. I think obviously the obvious things like looking after yourself, getting rest, hydration, getting therapy if you need it, whether it's like talking therapy or physical therapy from an osteopath, or you're going, throat specialist. It's really important to look after ourselves that way. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I've never
I've
heard
been,
a story the same.
we crossed over there again. Can you repeat what you just said?
I've never heard a story like mine.
Yeah.
I've heard of voice loss, but the fact that I lost it for a month and then I just had it, and I've not damaged my voice in those 3 months of singing on that voice. And I find it fascinating.
Yeah, that's really, really good. I'm glad that you also do get help, like your ENT, you have an osteopath. I've been seeing a guy locally here where I am in northern Michigan, and he was working with my neck and my postural kind of element. And I'm familiar with some of the physiology of the voice, but I could actually tilt my thyroid cartilage for the first time consciously when I started doing this um, kind of therapy, which is like, healing from my posture. And I was so surprised because sometimes we're going through our lives with an issue that we don't even realize is there. Like when you were limping. So I actually had a problem with my foot when I was born. So I've had a postural imbalance my whole life that created imbalances. You could see my pictures of me doing ballet are very cute. One arm is always higher than the other, one shoulder higher than the other. Very cute. But I think people do underestimate minding your physical body. Like if you want to sing well, if you want to do anything well, you want to have, to work well, we need to look after ourselves. And you're a professional singer, so you look after yourself. And I think that's a good, kind of message to our listeners as well. Like, are there ways that you're not looking after yourself? And like that, we don't want anybody to go through vocal trauma. But if you are going through something, or if you have gone through something, what was that teaching you? What was the silver lining, as you put it so beautifully? What kind of silver lining can you take from that? Because we don't stay stagnant in life. We can't be the person we were a year ago. We've got to keep moving forward. So that's something beautiful, and it shows your resilience, um, your adaptability, and it's a great thing to share that story. I think because you're not the only one, for sure, that's gone through a difficult time or a questioning time around something that they love to do.
Wise words from a wise woman. You, I mean.
And you too.
Yeah.
So I know that
Mm.
you have multiple interests. Is there anything that you're planning to be doing next that you'd like to share with us? Is it going to be more albums? Are you enjoying the teaching? Tell us a little more about what's on the horizon for Lauren Lucille.
So I have a few things I want to do. I'm not pressuring myself to do them all at the same time or very quickly. I'd rather do them properly and well. Um, I realize I have time. Um, I want to, I'm building my coaching business this year. I have incredible students at a kind of beginner to intermediate, creeping up to advanced stages at the moment. Um, and I would like some more advanced students. So, building on that. I also would like to write a book on how to sing, which is just something I've wanted to do for so long. Partly, I want to just share in a very layman's terms. This is how I think to sing. This is what my students have enjoyed and learnt from. So I just want to put really easy, just try this, think about this. I think a lot of it is in their head for me. A lot of it
Yeah.
is that just the way you think, your thoughts. I mean, it's nothing new. It's not, you know, if you want to learn how to become rich, they don't say, okay, do this job, do this job, do this job. It's like, think this way, think this way, think this way, and then do this job. I've just realized that a lot of any kind of learning is about your thoughts first. And so I kind of want to put this is what you might be able to think about when you're going for this note. Think about this or think about that. Or so I kind of want to write that book. It's going to be a very simple, probably just an ebook or something. And I think for me it's a big venture, but I think it would be really great just to share what I know, what I've learned from teaching for 15 years. I do have enough material to record at least one long album, full-length album. But I'm not going to do that this year. I want
An
to
album is
do
a
that
big
properly.
project.
Yeah, it can be. There's a lot to prepare. I've got the songs, but I want to fill them out a little bit more and figure out, what I want to do with them. And I don't want to rush that. So, I mean, if it ends up happening this year, great. I mean, I was thinking of doing it solo because I get a lot of feedback that people prefer me just with me and my guitar rather than with a band, which I find fascinating. So yeah, who knows? I'm open to doing more, and I'm open to doing a few things as well.
Were
So
your other
yeah.
albums with full bands, or was one of them just you and the guitar?
Yeah, the first two albums, full length albums, they're my original albums. They're with full bands. So the first album is with a live band. So the
Hmm.
band recorded the quartet, and then the strings recorded separately, the string trio, and then I did the vocals. And the second album, with Troy Miller here in London, very top producer, um, was done bit by bit, but it's also with a full band. Also has
Well, if you
strings
don't
on it.
have it yet, like a pared back, raw Lauren, with just your guitar, then you've got to do that.
I do have to do that, but I do have a Christmas album where it's just vocals and guitar, and it's
Nice.
four original tracks and five covers. I play all of them except for three of them, which I recorded in Germany with the guitarist there. But one of my students, she said, "I hate Christmas music," and this was in, I think, October or November. And she said, "I hate Christmas music, but I'm listening to your album because it's just so lovely." So that was a huge compliment to listen to Christmas music in October when you hate Christmas music. That
That
was really
is a
nice.
huge compliment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
Does
proud
it
of that
sink in
one
for
because
you
I
though?
recorded
Like
that myself.
just at home?
Yeah, at home on just my setup here.
Beautiful. It's possible, guys. Everybody listening. If Lauren can do it, you can too.
Oh my God, I keep saying that to everybody. If little old Lauren can do it, you can do it. You really don't need that much, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more potential out there for each of us than we realize is possible.
Mm.
Um, but I was about to ask you there, does it sink in with you when people give you those compliments? Like, do you think you understand or feel your own value, like that, you know, the qualities that you have? Do you still brush off some of those compliments and criticize yourself?
No, that's old Lauren. Long, long, long
Good.
ago. I think, yeah, definitely gained a lot of my confidence through people complimenting in a very authentic way. Not just like, that was nice, you're really good. It's when they say, that really moved me. And I listened to your Christmas album in October and oh, why aren't you coming back for lessons? Could you give me feedback? Is it about me? Anything about my teaching? Oh my God, Lauren, it pains me. It pains me to think that you would think that, no, you're an incredible teacher, amazing person, but I just am going away, or I'm just, I lost my job, or, something totally external. And that definitely makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing something right. With my students when I'm teaching, I just make sure, and it's not just to make them like me. It's like, find something that's great about their voice. Find something that's great about the way they move or don't move, or the way they sing something. There's always something positive. And I think for the listeners, if you're singing, like, record yourself and listen to it like you're listening to somebody else's voice. And what would you tell that person? Like, what do you like about this voice? There's going to be something, even if it's not the tone or the pitch. It might be, I just love your expression and I love the energy you put into it. And I love that it sounds so authentic.
Yeah.
So,
To me, that
yeah, I don't know.
authentic piece is the top thing that I'd look for.
I went on a bit of a tangent, but yeah,
No, not at
it
all.
helps. I think it helps to have positive feedback. I really do. I think it's nice to be there for each other in a positive way, encouraging each other, basically. Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think too
Mm.
many of us try to achieve something without support, and it is a much slower process that way. And we all need people on our cheerleading team. Well, we're going to be winding things up in a few minutes. I was wondering, is there anything that you'd like to say? Any resources that you'd like to give anybody? Um,
So, one of the questions you'd asked me when we were chatting, like, what would you say to someone who is just starting or feeling stuck on this journey, and then the resources? So, I can kind of answer that in one very briefly. Um, if you're just starting and you're stuck of where to start, um, be curious, inquisitive, try everything out for yourself before just blindly believing information, that you're reading or listening to. So there's loads of resources on YouTube. You can do so much on YouTube. I do loads of things on YouTube. And if I'm not sure about something, I always seek out somebody to ask. Like, I saw all these things on YouTube. I'm just wondering what you think about them. Or I'm doing all these things that YouTube tells me, but I'm not getting where I want to go. You have to be careful with physical stuff because you might be doing something that you don't know. So, you can start with YouTube, even if you're just listening to what people are saying and you're just taking notes, or, go, oh, that's really interesting. Or this point of view is different to that point of view. Just start getting curious.
mm,
Awareness is a really big part of things, learning, I think.
yeah.
Um, mhm.
Yeah, I like that idea about YouTube. I was working with a student earlier and we were listening to Adele and kind of listening to like her vocal control when she was singing. This is more technical, but thin versus thick folds. And, to hear those nuances in her voice. And I would definitely say that when we're listening to songs that we like, to try and listen more deeply to, that sometimes we learn a lot. It's like who you rub shoulders with. You can learn a lot from listening to someone else's way of singing. Not that you want to sing like them, but if you experiment with how they do it, it can help you develop your own style.
I've been listening to some business coaching lately, and I haven't even put into practice what they're talking about really, but I feel like my attitude is different. So it's
Yeah.
kind of by osmosis, you just put yourself in that. And listening is underrated. You've got to listen.
Yeah. And
Um
we need the inspiration too of others.
mm, mm. I always say just copy that person as much as possible. You're probably not going to sound like them, but you're going to learn something in the process. I always say the way we learn to walk is just by watching everyone around us. The way we learn to talk, like, we learn a whole language. People look at us and spit Italian at us or whatever. I was watching my little nephew earlier, and to begin with, he has no idea. But when they just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, he just starts repeating it back and starting to make sense of it all. And you absolutely have to be brave enough and willing and have enough fun to make mistakes. It's going to limit, really think it's going to limit your learning and limit your journey of singing or anything you want to learn by being fearful of making a mistake. Um, I'm just thinking of really good examples in my life that don't have specifically something to do with singing as such, but contracts that I could have signed, or somebody that wanted to give me a bunch of money to record a song because he believed in me that much that he wanted to give me that much money. And I just thought, because he wanted a lot of money in return, of course, it's like an investment. And I just thought, I can't make that money. But actually, if I put my mind to it and thought about it for a little bit longer, so it's about taking risks in that sense, but
Mm.
also just going for it and just not being afraid of making a mistake or sounding silly. Like, so many people, I teach mostly adults, and they just close up because they don't want to sound bad. And I'm like, that's the only way you're going to figure this out. I can't tell you everything. I can't just hand it to you. You've got to figure this out on your own with some guidance, right?
Yeah. Yeah. The first time
Um,
you try something,
mm,
it's like you're guessing what to do,
mm,
and that's okay. So I think we will wind up on that
yes.
point of, don't be afraid to make mistakes. And it's through our mistakes that we figure things out. this idea of testing ideas as well. Like, so don't necessarily put all your eggs into one basket
Mm.
necessarily. And I loved what you said about, when you're researching, to not necessarily believe everything, to get feedback on it. So there's a lot of wisdom there as well. And I'm really glad that you were able to come on today and share your journey with your own losing of your voice. And I'm excited to listen to more of your music and your new album. I hope sometimes these things happen faster than you realize. One day you're just sitting there, and the next thing you're recording. You've got everything you need right there in your home studio. So, and your book and everything. When you have any of those resources ready, I'll definitely add them to the show notes here. So let me know when you do, and I will make sure that those get added. Thank you so much, Lauren. You're a
It,
gem for coming on.
thank you so much. It gives me confidence that you asked me on the show. And
Well, when
yeah.
your next album comes out, I would encourage you to do a lot more interviews with people, because I think a lot of people listening to music want to get to know the person behind the music as well. And that's why your students are so love you, because they've had the
Mm,
opportunity to get to know you. And an interview is a lovely way to get to know an artist. And you are an artist. And I am really, really excited to see what you do next.
I'll do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lauren. And
Mhm.
to my listeners today, I am just so grateful that you're listening. Please get in touch if you have a question, comment, or suggestion of a guest. And I look forward to hearing from you. Take care. Bye bye.